Awesome. Well, thanks very much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm here to introduce Thunder Gold and our Tower Mountain discovery in Ontario, Canada. As I'm a professional geologist, I've worked in the industry for over 40 years. I can say categorically that this is probably the most intriguing and probably one of the most valuable gold resources I've seen in 40 years of the industry, and I've seen some rather large ones over the course of my lifetime. Forward-looking statement. I'm sure everybody is fully aware of the necessity to include the fact that this is a presentation that includes forward-looking statements, so you're so advised. So why do I love Tower Mountain so much? Here's a simple analogy. Look, it's an intrusion-related gold deposit. That pink circular, semicircular outline on the right-hand image basically is a alkalic intrusion. It's one of the largest alkalic intrusions. In fact, it's the only alkalic intrusion for a 20-kilometer radius. This sits within the Shabandowan Greenstone Belt, which is a large and underexplored greenstone belt in northwestern Ontario in Canada. And surrounding that intrusion is what I believe is an opportunity that's second to none in the world today. It's a tight, compact distribution of gold extending 500 meters surrounding that intrusive core. So it's very much like the hole in the donut on the left. You can see the drilling is superimposed on the two bites of the donut on the left-hand side. That drilling is limited to only 20% of the known circumference surrounding that intrusion, meaning 80% untouched. We control 100% of it. And this represents a startling opportunity that's overlooked in the industry today. What we're looking for at Thunder Gold is an opportunity similar to Detour Lake. And you've heard this all before, but there's a lot of similarities between Tower Mountain and Detour Lake. First and foremost, the average grade of both deposits is hovering around 1 gram per ton. Gold recoveries are hovering around 90%, 91%. The strip ratio at Detour Lake in their 2011 feasibility study, which was conducted at $850 gold, I might add, was 4-to-1. We see similarities to Tower Mountain, where the average grade from the drilling, the meager 40,000 meters of drilling that's been completed to date, is indicating an average grade of 1 gram per ton. The strip ratio certainly appears to be in that 3 to 4 range, similar to what we see at Detour Lake. Metallurgical recoveries are the same, but the key differences of Tower Mountain relative to the feasibility study from Detour Lake is, first and foremost, gold's 3 times higher. That's a significant benefit. Tower Mountain is located much closer to infrastructure than Detour Lake was ever located. Detour Lake had almost 900,000 meters of drilling compared to the 40,000 meters of Tower Mountain. And Tower Mountain is non-acid generating rock. And I will admit I threw that in there without fully understanding if Detour Lake is acid generating or not, but it's just a flag I wanted to wave regarding Tower Mountain. Executive summary. Look, we acquired the property in June of 2020. It's a small property. It's not an expansive position along the Greenstone Belt, but it doesn't have to be. I mean, there's more than enough opportunity to discover a tier 1 gold deposit within our 2,500 hectares that we've really not been interested in pursuing land acquisitions or increasing our stake in that Shabandowan Greenstone Belt because it diffuses our attention. Our attention is focused on Tower Mountain, and I'll tell you why in a moment. This is an intrusion-related gold deposit, so it offers significant tonnage potential. These things are typically 20 to 30 million ounces in terms of size. Similar type deposits are the Cadia deposit in New South Wales and Australia, the Cripple Creek deposits in Colorado. Intrusion-related deposits are some of the largest gold deposits in the world. There's only 42,000 meters completed of drilling, 200 drill holes sampled from collar to the bottom of every drill hole on the property. All of them have been submitted for analysis. All of them have indicated gold is present in different tenors. And, you know, the gold mineralization at Tower Mountain starts at surface and it extends to the bottom of the deepest hole drilled to date. One of the things that attracted me to joining this company was the fact that all the necessary infrastructure is in place. I don't need a railroad. I don't need a road. I don't need an airport. I don't need a camp. Tower Mountain is located immediately adjacent to publicly funded built infrastructure that's necessary to drive down our cost per meter. And we have one of the lowest cost per meter exploration costs in the industry at about $300 a meter. And that's operating inefficiently with a single drill rig. We can drop that even farther if we have multiple drill rigs operating on the property. Gold recoveries, we've done preliminary metallurgical work. Most juniors don't bother with that critical aspect. Gold recoveries are indicating no problem. Environmentally, this rock is acid consuming, which means acid mine rock drainage won't be a problem in the future. All of our exploration permits are in hand. We're good to go. We can march a drill onto the property anytime we wish. And the claims are in good standing for 50 years or more. I've built 6 mines over the course of my career all over the world, from South America into the United States and Canada, narrow vein underground mines and large tonnage open pit mines. But my objective with this company is very simple. I want to demonstrate tier 1 discovery potential and attract the takeover from a producing gold issuer. I think the last thing I would do in my life, or recommend to anybody to do in their life, is build a mine as a junior mining company, because that's an incredibly difficult undertaking. This image shows the location of Tower Mountain in the upper left-hand corner in white, relative to the existing paved road Trans-Canada Highway network, which is shown in yellow, the railroads, which are the dashed white sort of zipper-looking lines. There's a power line that crosses the western boundary of the property. The city of Thunder Bay is 45 kilometers to the east. That gives us direct access to the Great Lakes Seaway. There's an international airport at Thunder Bay. There's a population of 110,000 people in Thunder Bay. This is a resource-driven sector, and it's you couldn't literally place a gold deposit anywhere in the world with a better location. The project was originally discovered in the 1980s by a local prospector. Noranda, Inco, and Val Gold drilled almost 30,000 meters of core. The results range from 1.9 grams over 52.5 meters, 1.8 grams over 16.4 meters. Typically, what you see is at a cutoff grade of 0.3, you have intervals of several tens of meters, if not up to several hundreds of meters, averaging between 0.7 and 1.5 grams per ton. Outlier values are extraordinarily well. There's not these, 500, 600, 700 grams over half a meter that you see a lot of other companies releasing. And that's a great thing in my mind, because I understand the relevance of statistical stability. And this is one of the most statistically stable gold populations I've come across in 40 years in the industry. And that includes the Paracatu deposit in Brazil, which had an average grade of 0.4 and currently produces over 500,000 ounces annually. So lots to love about this project. Our recent drilling released in January of this year was from a new target on the opposite side of the intrusion, the P target, which I'll go into greater detail. That's very significant because basically it proves our primary exploration concept is valid, which is the gold mineralization surrounds that Tower Mountain intrusive. And if we look at a regional map of the district, we see Gold Shore Moss Lake deposit, 6 million ounces of resource on the 65 kilometers to the west of us, scattered other small gold deposits and properties that are currently being explored. And then we come to Tower Mountain on the opposite end of the Greenstone Belt, basically focused around that Tower Mountain intrusive complex, which is shown in pink. And that intrusive complex is the largest and only exposed intrusive complex for a 20-kilometer radius. And why that's important is because all of the assessment reports for the Saskatchewan Greenstone Belt have 2 things in common: a prolific mention of gold anomalies throughout the entire Greenstone Belt, and a close association of all those anomalies with alkalic intrusive rocks. And again, Tower Mountain is the largest alkalic intrusion for a 20-kilometer radius. We see our mineralization drilled off on the western contact. The remaining 80% of the perimeter surrounding that alkalic intrusion is untouched, except for the P target, where we drilled in November of 2024. Results are statistically identical to what we see on the western side. We see all kinds of gaps on the western side through the current drill coverage. This is a block model using a 50-meter radius. It's an internal model, so we can't tell you what the results are, but basically we're looking at an exploration target in the 40 to 80 million ton range probably averaging 0.8 to 1.2 grams per ton. I'm not allowed to complete the math for you. You guys have to do that on yourself. But the question marks are basically areas of the resource that are outside of that 50-meter projection distance from a known drill hole. And that means there's lots of opportunities in the existing drill coverage to go in and increase the confidence level and add potential ounces, both on a horizontal plane and on a vertical plane as well. Our focus with our exploration is to stay within a reasonable pit shell or something that sort of constrains your drilling. There's no point in drilling 700, 800, 900 meters below the mineralized target at this stage in the game. Let somebody else do that later. Our focus is to develop an open pittable resource, and that means we've got to stay above a 350-meter pit bottom, which this sort of represents. So those question marks within that conceptual pit slope, that's the sweet spot for our exploration program, and that's what we're going to be limiting our exploration drilling to. As I said, this is one of the most statistically stable drill populations I've ever seen in the gold space. The mineralization at Tower Mountain is agnostic to rock type, to lithology, to alteration, to any observable visual feature. What you see is similarities in the average grades and the statistical distribution of those populations, regardless of what's been looked at. And you sort of see it in the scatter plot of duplicate analysis versus the original analysis, which is essentially defining a one-to-one slope, which sort of suggests it's fairly stable. Lots of targets to drill from. Our P target was picked up in a soil geochemistry anomaly, a survey that we completed in September of last year. That first and foremost demonstrated correlation to the Western contact mineralization that's been drill tested and led us to the discovery of the P target, where 13 of 13 drill holes hit mineralization. And more importantly, there's all kinds of targets surrounding that Tower Mountain intrusion, which is the dashed lines shown in pink. All kinds of targets that are not tested in any way, shape, or form, surrounding and coincident with that intrusive center, and also coincident with mag lows that also surround that intrusive center. So you've got three primary vectors: soil geochemistry, mag, and geology, basically saying drill here, stupid. So not being a man to take many chances in life, that's exactly what I propose to do. We see the same thing with our metallurgical results as we do with our geology, and that's consistency regardless of rock type. We've done about 15, 16 baseline bottle roll tests to see that this stuff is capable of being recovered using traditional cyanidation. And what we see is, regardless of rock type, whether it's an intrusive rock, a mixed rock type, or a volcanic, recoveries are always the same in that 80 to 90% range. And you could probably, through a little bit of effort and work and some brilliant metallurgical detectives, can probably bump that up to the 92 to 94% range without too much problem. Currently, we have 227 million shares issued and outstanding, options of about 20 million, 45 million warrants at a strike price of 10 cents for a fully diluted total of 293 million shares. I'm the president and CEO. Been with the company since 2022, mid-2022. I've been having a blast. This thing interests me as a geologist, and it interests me as an opportunity to make some money. So this is we've got a great entry point. Insiders have a 20% stake in the company. Our close associates and advisors own an additional 6%. Retail currently makes up 74%, but we know where about half of that retail component is. We've got a treasury of just in the range of $2 million. We plan on deploying that in the not too distant future. We're actually soliciting bids for drilling contractors as we speak, and hope to get back with diamond drills on the property here within the next, certainly within the next 1 to 2 months, depending on winter conditions in Canada and so on and so forth. Very experienced board. Warren Bates and Scott Jobin Bevins are both geologists with long experience in the industry, particularly with large tonnage, low-grade deposits. Elliot Strachan is our chairman. He's been associated with this company for over 40 years. Very strong supporter. He's our largest single shareholder by far. Great guy, certainly very supportive of our efforts to advance this project and maximize the opportunity for our shareholders going forward. And just to reiterate on everything that we've already said during the course of the presentation, we acquired the asset in June of 2020. It's 2,500 hectares in size. We own it 100%. The mineral rights, there are no further, there are no further payments associated with maintaining that claim block. All payments have been made, all option agreements have been completed. We now own full mineral title to the full 2,500 hectares, and more importantly, to the portion that surrounds the intrusion, which is the guiding light in terms of mineral exploration. Great opportunity for a large tonnage, low-grade discovery. Very limited amount of drilling, but that can be rapidly expanded. I think the Tower Mountain will ultimately offer one of the lowest per ounce discovery costs in the industry today. Absolutely brilliant location relative to the necessary infrastructure that you need, not just to keep your costs low, but to keep your construction costs low for anybody that acquires this with a view to bringing it into commercial production. Those development costs and operating costs are going to be hugely and beneficially impacted by the existing infrastructure that is in place and fully funded by the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario. Low drilling costs, $300 a meter, great recoveries, no problems. This is disturbed land because of the infrastructure that's there and its proximity to the claims. We're not talking pristine Canadian wilderness. We're not anticipating any significant objections to future development or certainly exploration of this particular and wonderful opportunity. At the end of the day, I just beg you to remember this. It's pretty simple. It's like a donut, or for our European friends that are with us today, a Danish. Unlike a Danish, donuts have holes in the middle. We have a filled middle, which is that calc-alkalic intrusion, which I believe is driving all of the mineralization, not just at Tower Mountain, but throughout the entire Shibandam Greenstone Belt, as demonstrated by hundreds of assessment reports talking about various gold discoveries over the time. And with that, I'll give you the details. This is a picture of probably our only significant outlier value, which was 941 grams per ton over 1.5 meters. I was absolutely stunned when we reported that. There's nothing else like that in the database. Everything else sort of tends to rest in that 0.3 to 2 gram per ton range. And it's just consistent day after day after day after day. And if you break it out at a 0.3 cutoff grade, which is the operating cutoff grade at the world's largest open pit gold mines, you get an average grade of between 0.8 and 1.2 grams per ton. And with that, I believe we'll go to questions.
All right, thank you very much for the presentation, Wes. That was extremely interesting. I think there's a concept here of the presenters today. I could rename the commodity sector the green belt, so the greenstone belt presentation, as there's so many of you guys that have amazing property, and it seems like you find gold where gold is supposed to be, and I guess the green stone belt is one of those places. So that was very, very interesting. Again, great drill result, great project. Now let's go and hit the questions. So first, Eric is asking, are there First Nations community in the area? Who are they, if applicable? I think you touched that already just a few minutes back, but please expand on it.
So the largest First Nation, or the property is located on the traditional lands of the Fort William First Nations, which is based out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. They're more of an urban First Nations. I mean, these are not, they've been surrounded by infrastructure development and resource development for almost their entire existence. Thus far, the relationship is very good. I plan on maintaining that relationship and basically ensuring that they're fully aware of what it is we're doing and when we're doing it, so that they're consulted with our plans, so that nothing takes it by surprise, because nobody likes surprises, correct?
Absolutely. More specifically, is there any population in the near local area? Is it open to open pit mining?
Oh, it's absolutely open to open pit mining. That's exactly the target that we're trying to outline, and the opportunity we're trying to outline. This is, there's some smaller single family dwellings and cottages that are nearby to the property, but generally speaking, well outside of any reasonable or dangerous perimeter for operating an open pit mine.
Okay, perfect. That's all the question we had right now. So if anyone else has more questions, please put in the Q&A or into the chat. We'll be happy to answer them, and I'll ask them to Wes. Can you discuss a bit more? So right now you do have 2 million. Most of that money of what we understood is already engaged into future work. What is the plan on future capital raise? And how will that raise materialize? Will it be kind of flow through plus hard, or how do you see that?
Well, I'd love to make my life easier and say that a significant investor was going to come in and give us all the money we could ever conceivably spend, because exploration is an expensive undertaking, as everybody who's participating here can attest to. Look, as a junior company listed on the Toronto Venture Exchange, our bread and butter is to tell our investors what we plan to do, go out, do it, come back and report to our investors the results of what we said we were going to do. And hopefully our investors are encouraged enough to stay with the story and invest in a further round. So you keep setting and resetting your low, high share price value and market capitalization, and you just move that up in stair steps. And eventually we'll build this thing to a level that's appealing for a takeover bid from a producing issuer, whether that's a major company like a Barrick or a Agnico Eagle or somebody similar to that size. You know, all of those companies need to replace a significant number of gold ounces that they deplete through production. So large tonnage, low grade projects offer limited drama. They're predictable. They're not like higher grade gold mines, which are notoriously unpredictable and often suffer because of that fact. Low tonnage or large tonnage, low grade deposits are predictable and very desirable for majors, and they're very desirable for, you know, smaller gold producers that are looking to take that next step in their development. And gold's absolutely undervalued, fantastic investment. We're going to see great appreciation. You can't live without gold. It's just impossible.
All right. Well, there was a lot to take in this 3 minutes. But let's go back a bit to it. So basically, Tower Mountain is obviously priority number one project within your company, I would believe. But you do have also other projects. Can you give us a quick look around of what else you have in your portfolio, and if you keep on intending keeping those, or what's the plan with them?
Well, look, Tower Mountain is our focus. Like I said, I'm a professional geologist. I recognize the opportunity Tower Mountain presents. We've got to put every dollar we can put towards Tower Mountain. We are, we have vended other properties and other assets to different companies. Those different companies are advancing those assets on their own timelines. They seem to be, progressing in a manner which I find to be positive. It's possible some of those vending option agreements generate some cash that can come back into the company, which we would then immediately turn around and invest in our primary asset, which is Tower Mountain. Believe me when I tell you, I've seen a lot of these projects over the course of 40 years, seen them all over the world. And, you know, this was the one that was attractive enough to convince me not to retire. I simply can't put it any more plainly than that. I wasn't looking for work. I was happily winding down my career and happy with my accomplishments and achievements. And then when I was introduced to this story, I kind of went, you know, this one's really interesting. It's got that rare blend of upside opportunity, easily attainable, cheap to drill, cheap to explore, very strong vectors indicating where to drill, which a lot of companies don't have. And, you know, again, that premium location. I mean, it's the number one rule in real estate investment is location, location, location. So I toughed it out, and here we are, and meeting everybody here today and participating in this fine forum. And it's been extremely interesting thus far, and I look forward to some of the other stories.
Well, absolutely. So we still have 2 minutes to go, and there's one thing we do have to touch and expand on. what you guys have, which is I'm referring to your 7th of January news that came out with drilling result here, includes 1.93 gram per ton over 54.2 meters. Is it low grade decimated or is it very high grade stretched throughout 54 meters?
There is not a single assay in that 51 meters that's greater than 3 grams a ton. And
And can you
that's,
expand on what does that mean as a difference?
well, it means that you don't have this problem. Look, in the entire database, which is currently 28,000 samples, there are only 7 that have returned to grade greater than 15 grams a ton. So, a lot of investors would be scared of that because they're so used to seeing all of these spectacular numbers like 600 grams over a meter or 700 grams over half a meter. But in order to produce an ounce of gold, there's 2 components. There's the grade of the gold, which is expressed in grams per ton. And then there's the meters of the interval that's been drilled. And that generates your tonnage. So if you have 1 gram over 100 meters, it's exactly the same as having 100 grams over 1 meter. It got exactly the same intrinsic value. The difference is I know for a fact that 1 gram over 100 meters is more than likely going to be 100 meters away from where I drilled that hole. Whereas that 100 grams over a meter probably doesn't exist 5 meters away from that drill hole. You see,
Exactly.
it's a lack of continuity.
And this basically means 2 things, means choosing a mining method, reducing dilution, and lowering, well, normally mining costs. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So I hope everyone learned a little bit from this, the difference between high grade, very, very short, narrow vein system or low grade dissemination throughout very long intersects. So on that, it's exactly 6 o'clock here CET time. Wes, so we thank you very much for joining the IIF for the first time. We look forward to following your story. It's extremely interesting. I think grade length, you have it all. Just keep on working very good diligently and we'll be able to see your next and updated result at the next IIF maybe.
Julian, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you and participate today. And thanks very much for the opportunity.